What's going on, everybody? My name is Rico. Welcome back to my channel. For those of you that are new here, my channel is about vlogs, series and tutorials. And in this episode I'm going to do something that you guys have asked me to do many times, which is make a tutorial about masks. So in this episode we're going to address the drawn masks in Darktable. Alright, and here's the image that I'm going to use to show you guys how the masks work. We're going to use the drawn mask in this episode. I'll make a different episode about the parametric mask, but for now we're going to stick to the drawn mask. I've already made a couple of basic adjustments to this image, just to make sure that it looks a lot better than the original. You see some vignetting over here, so I cropped that out. I didn't use the lens correction because if you do, the masks are being applied differently. So just remember that if you want to apply a lens correction to the image, do it as a final step. So let's start. I'm going to use an exposure module for this. And what we're going to do is we're going to select the symbol which says drawn mask. We're going to scroll down and now you see this menu. The first thing that I'm going to demonstrate you guys is how to use a brush. So for that I'm going to click this little symbol right here. It says add brush. I'm going to click it and here's my brush. I want to brush over the sky and the sky is fairly big, so we need to make the brush a little bit bigger. You can do so by scrolling the mouse wheel button towards you. As you can see, the brush is now becoming bigger, and if you scroll it away from you, the brush is becoming smaller. The outer circle is the feathering. If you want to change the feathering, all you gotta do is hit the shift and then scroll the mouse wheel button towards you to decrease the feathering, or scroll it away from you to increase the feathering. I'm going to keep it like so. And now I'm going to paint over the sky. So here we go. It doesn't have to be very precise because I'm going to show you guys something else in a minute, but just for the sake of this tutorial, we do a quick brush like so, and there you go. So now the brush is being applied and the solid lines is where I've stroked with the brush and the end line is for the feathering. I want to decrease the feathering a little bit, so I'm going to hit the shift button and I'm going to scroll the mouse wheel button away from me just to decrease the feathering a little bit so that it matches the outer side a little bit better. And I want to see what this mask is going to do. So for that you can click this little yellow symbol right here. And if you click it, you will see the area that the mask is being applied to. What you can notice from this image right now is that I didn't brush over everything. You still see a little bit of black and white spots, and we're going to address that. But I'm not going to use another brush to paint over it. Instead, I'm going to increase the feathering radius of this mask so that the areas are being covered, as you can see right now. And I'm also going to blur it a little bit. So now the mask is being applied more evenly. Let me show you guys what happens if you increase the mask opacity by dragging this to the right. The mask becomes more dense, and if you drag it to the left, the mask becomes less opaque, and in this case it's completely gone. So let me double click it to reset it to 0. Now watch what happens if I drag the mask contrast to the right. It becomes more dense again, and if I drag it to the left, it becomes less dense and more evened out. So let me reset that by putting it back to 0. And this is the mask that we're going to use for this. If you are done changing the mask the way you like, what you can do is click this yellow symbol right here and the image turns back to color. And if you click this little symbol right here, it will deactivate the mask elements and now you can just look at the image. So I'm going to scroll up and watch what happens. I'm going to decrease the exposure in the sky. And now as you notice, the changes are only being applied to the sky. And if I increase it, the same happens, but the exposure is being increased in the sky. So let me double click it to reset it to 0 and let me hit this little symbol right here, reset parameters. That means that everything that we've just done is now gone. So let's go back to a drawn mask and we're going to use a second mask, which is a circle. Let's click the circle, and once again, if you scroll it towards you, it becomes bigger. If you scroll it away from you, it becomes smaller. If you hold the shift button and scroll towards you, the feathering becomes bigger. And if you hold the shift button and scroll away from you, the feathering becomes less. So let's click inside the image. Now this is the mask area. Let's click this little symbol right here again. And now this is what's being affected due to the mask. So let's feather it, let's increase some blur. And watch what happens to the solid circle. It becomes less solid and more feathering is happening on the side. You can't add nodes to this one. So basically this is all you have. So personally I don't use it very often, but you can use it on a face or whatever. Let me hit the right mouse button to remove this mask. And now you see that no mask is being applied, so the entire image is being affected. Let me click this little symbol right here to go back to the image. And now let me scroll up and use the second one, which is the ellipse. I'm going to click it. And here's the ellipse. I'm going to click inside the image. You see that we've got 4 points over here. The same applies to the ellipse, by the way. If you hold the shift button while your mouse is inside it and you scroll away from you, the feathering becomes less. And if you scroll towards you, the feathering becomes more. These 4 nodes can be changed. So you can move them outwards, you can move them inwards. Same goes for this one. You can move them inward, you can move them outward. And that's how you can change it. And if you want to change the angle, what you can do is hold the control, the point over here, and then turn it anywhere you like. So right now I want to turn it like so. I'm going to click inside this mask. I'm going to drag it down. I'm going to place it on the water. This is a little bit too big for the water. So I'm going to move this point inwards. And I want to change the feathering by scrolling the mouse wheel button away from me while holding the shift button. I want to change the angle a little bit, so I'm going to hold the control, click this point and move it a little bit. There you go. And let's click inside the mask, move it to the left. Obviously, if you want to change the angle, you can click this point while holding the control button as well to change the angle. And now once again, let me click this yellow symbol so you can see what will be affected. So now the water will be affected. We've got the same feathering radius, the mask blur. If you double click it, the words will be reset like so. And I think this needs a little bit more feathering. So let's click it. Now a lot of feathering is being applied. And let's click this symbol again. And let's click this symbol again. And now let's edit the water. So if we increase the exposure, this is what happens to the water. And only the water is being affected, as you can see right now. And if I move it to the left, the water will become more dark. There you go. That's all because we are using an ellipse mask. And if you want to know where the masks are, all you gotta do is press this little symbol and then it shows you that the mask is over here. Great, so let me double click this to reset it. Let me right mouse click on the mask and now the mask is gone. There are no masks in the image. Another one that I want to show you guys is the gradient mask, which is this little symbol right here. Let's click it and I'm going to click inside the image. And now you see that it's got 2 points. It's got a dark gray one and it's got a light gray one. The dark gray one points towards the place of the image that will be affected. And the light gray one will show you guys the side that won't be affected. If you want to change this, you can click the control, click this button over here and then turn it or spin it anywhere you like. So you can have it diagonal, you can have it vertical, you can have it horizontal, or just do whatever you like. The end lines is the feathering line and the solid line is where the mask starts / ends. Let's click the yellow symbol again to show you guys how that works inside the image. So this is the area that's being affected. This is the area that won't be affected. We've got a big feathering radius, so let me halve that. And you saw the mask change a little bit. Now let me click this symbol and let me click this symbol to make sure that we don't see the mask anymore. The mask is still being applied obviously because if we drag this down, we're decreasing the exposure of the sky. There you go. And if I move it to the right, we are increasing the exposure of the sky. And now it's a lot more bright than it was before. So that's a great way to just target a specific area. There's another way to do this by using the gradient density module. We're not going into that one today because I just wanted to show you guys the masks. So let me reset the parameters of the exposure 1 module and now click this symbol again, draw a mask, because there's one more thing I want to show you guys, which is the path tool. If you add a path, what you can do is you can click here and then click outside of the image and then just gradually start to make a path or create a path anywhere you like. And let me just do it like this, move outside of the image. Now let's say you're done because you've got the area selected that you want to select. Hit the right mouse button and then the mask will close itself. Same principle applies here. Shift and drag the mouse wheel button towards you to increase the feathering and move it away from you to decrease the feathering. Show you guys the yellow symbol again. So now it's very solid. Let me increase the feathering to show you guys what happens. Increase the blur as well. And let's decrease the opacity a little bit, and let's increase the contrast a little bit. And now it looks a little bit more different with a lot more feathering in it. Let's say you need to change the mask completely. If you stand inside the mask, and this goes for the other masks as well, and you just scroll the mouse wheel button towards you, the entire mask will just become bigger. And if you move the mouse wheel button away from you, the mask will become smaller, as you can see happening right now. Now let's say for whatever reason you need to add a node because you forgot a spot or you just want to get a better angle between these two. What you can do is you can stand on the solid line, hit the control and then click, and now a node is being added. If I drag it inwards, just for the sake of this tutorial, you see that it's got a lever over here as well. So now this is the mask, this part is not inside of the mask, so it's been excluded. This little bar right here, you can move it to the left or you can move it to the right to change the angle of this point. That way you can be more precise when you mask, let's say, a head or a round shape or whatever. And I think that's a great way to just change how the masks are being applied. And those are the 5 drawn masks that you can use in Darktable and how you can change the settings of those masks as well. And that's it. I hope you guys like it. Let me know in the comment section down below. Don't forget, you can now rate my videos as well using the poll. You can give me a 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5-star review. And I guess for this week there's only one more thing left for me to say, which is make love to the like button. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Hit that bell button to be the first to be notified when I drop in a video. And until next time, doei!